My imperial father wrote the marriage decree incorrectly. The person I was supposed to marry was Lu Ji, but it became the daughter of the minister instead. I was about to cause a scene, but then I saw Lu Ji, composed and calm as he accepted the decree. I finally realized the truth. Lu Ji, did you never intend to marry me from the very start? His gaze was cold and distant, just like his entire demeanor. I said it 3 years ago. There is no possibility between the princess and me. I suddenly understood everything. He deliberately didn't say who he wanted to marry. He let me misunderstand on purpose, because only then would I not interfere and stop it. When I looked up again, Lu Ji had already turned away with the decree, until his back completely vanished from my sight. I slowly stood up and walked out of the temple. The guard stepped forward. Princess, are you returning to the palace? I will prepare the carriage immediately. No need, I stopped him. I stood before Manhwa temple, watching the mountain path covered in snow, and spoke softly. 3 years ago, I swore here to love Lu Ji for all eternity. If there ever came a day I no longer loved him, I would kneel with every step back to the palace. The guard cried out, Princess. I knelt straight down, then bowed deeply toward the palace. I vow that I will never love Lu Ji again in this life. If I ever break this word, let my life be full of hardships, and nothing go my way. 10,001 steps, 10,001 bows. Just like that, I knelt my way back to the palace in the heavy snow. The moment I stepped into Xuanwu Gate, my knees gave way, and I fell into the arms of my mother, who had received the news and was waiting for me. Afterward, I fell into a dream. In the dream, I went back to when I was 8 years old. Back then, Lu Ji was only 17, but he had just won a battle for my imperial father. He had an indescribable air of maturity and stability. My imperial father entrusted me to him, and he truly took care of me with meticulous detail. In the summer, when I playfully splashed in the lotus pond, he would bend down to dry my feet. In the winter, when I was too cold to go outside, he would bring extra charcoal to my room. His hands, meant for holding a spear, gradually learned how to comb my hair. The things he carried were all trinkets for a young girl. I fell deeper into his tenderness day by day, completely forgetting our nominal difference in seniority. I thought I was special to him too. For 10 whole years, how could his heart not have been moved by me even once? I woke from the dream with a face covered in tears. I saw my mother sitting by the bed, wiping her own tears. Mother. I spoke hoarsely. Unexpectedly, her tears fell even faster. Manhwa, seeing you in such pain, how can I bear it? Had I known it would come to this, I never would have agreed to send you to Manhwa temple. They say mothers and children share one heart. Everything I suffered today, did my mother feel it twofold? Guilt overwhelmed me. I lowered my head deeply. Don't worry, mother, your daughter has let go. When I am better, I will go to imperial father and ask for forgiveness. My knees were in pain from the snow and the kneeling, swollen significantly. On the day I could finally walk, I went to see my imperial father. After a few months, he seemed to have aged a lot. He sighed. There have been many skirmishes at the border recently. The envoy I sent to De Liang sent back word. If we want a ceasefire, they demand a princess for a marriage alliance. Currently, you are the only princess of age. Your mother couldn't bear to let you go, so she is choosing a husband for you. Manhwa, you must marry as soon as possible. And stop being so willful. I thought if Lu Ji was willing to marry you, he could at least protect you. I didn't expect him to ask for the minister's daughter instead. Matters of fate cannot be forced after all. Hearing Lu Ji's name again, my heart still felt a sharp pang. I clenched my hands tightly, and slowly raised my head. Imperial father, I am willing to go to De Liang for the marriage alliance. My father was stunned, then refused without hesitation. No, you are the child your mother and I love most. How could we send you away? I knelt down. As a princess, one must be loyal to the sovereign while walking the path of a subject. De Zhou needs me now, and I should naturally step forward for the safety of the people. My father didn't speak again. After a long silence, he waved his hand. Go back for now, let me think about it. I could only bow and retreat. Unexpectedly, as soon as I stepped out of the study, I ran straight into Lu Ji. He had changed out of the plain white Zen robes he often wore at the temple. The prayer beads that never left his hand were nowhere to be seen. Seeing me, he instinctively shielded the woman behind him. I froze for a moment, realizing that woman was the one he had asked to marry, Su Xiaoxiao. I couldn't help but take a look. I wanted to see what kind of woman could make Lu Ji return to secular life. How was she different? But she immediately took Lu Ji's hand nervously, as if she were afraid I would steal him away. I understood. The whole capital had heard of my obsessive and crazy love for Lu Ji. It was normal for Su Xiaoxiao to be afraid. I withdrew my gaze and took the initiative to bow. Greetings, Prince of Zhenbei. Lu Ji was taken aback. Ever since I expressed my feelings, I had never called him uncle again. Now, I didn't even call him that. The title Prince of Zhenbei sounded so formal and distant. He seemed unable to believe I would concede so easily. After all, in the past, to be with him, I had used every trick in the book. He thought that after this marriage decree, I would throw another fit. Lu Ji frowned. Just as he was about to say something, I didn't give him the chance to speak. After rising, I simply walked past them. No matter what they were here to see my father for, it had nothing to do with me anymore. After returning to my palace, I asked my personal maid, Jin Shu, to find some people to bring a Phoebe Jinnan wood chest out from the storehouse. I wanted to send this chest of items to Lu Ji, saying it was a wedding gift from me. The maid was shocked and heartbroken. Princess, these treasures were specially made by craftsmen for your dowry, to marry the Prince of Jinbei. If I were the one marrying him today, then these would naturally be a dowry. But since he is marrying someone else, consider these my repayment to him. I waved my hand. Send them over. Seeing my persistence, the maid could only agree. I thought my entanglement with Lu Ji would end here. Unexpectedly, as darkness fell, Lu Ji actually returned with Jin Shu, Prince of Jinbei. You cannot intrude into the princess's chambers. Lu Ji turned a deaf ear, pushing the door open with a face full of frost. I frowned. What is the meaning of this? Lu Ji threw a letter down in front of me. I should be asking you that. What do you want? You hid this letter in the wedding gift you sent. What is your intention? I solemnly picked up the letter and unfolded it. It was indeed my own handwriting. I only wish your heart were like mine, and that our mutual longing would not be in vain. Lu Ji, I will never fail you. I froze for a long time before remembering. I wrote this letter on the day Lu Ji returned to secular life. I thought he had done it to marry me, so I tucked it into the dowry chest I had prepared long ago. I never expected Lu Ji would see it in this way. I'm sorry, I didn't even think as I tore the letter to shreds. I didn't put it in there on purpose. However, my past behavior was still fresh in his mind. Lu Ji clearly didn't believe me. Xiao Xiao saw this and thought you were threatening her. She was already timid by nature, and now she is even more worried and frightened. Come with me right now to apologize to her. He reached out to pull me. I instinctively took a step back, causing him to miss my wrist. Instead, he snapped the Buddhist beads on my wrist. The cord broke, and the beads scattered all over the floor. My chest felt a sudden, sharp ache, as if I had been struck by something heavy. This string of beads was handmade for me by Lu Ji 5 years ago. That year, I was playful and went up the mountain alone, almost falling off a cliff. It was the first time Lu Ji got angry with me. No matter how I begged for mercy, he cruelly put me under house arrest. Later, I found out that while I was confined, Lu Ji had also confined himself in a Zen room. He carved these beads with his own hands and fasted for 49 days to consecrate them, all to keep me safe. I never thought these beads would be destroyed by his own hand. Lu Ji's eyes darkened. Just as he was about to say something, he was interrupted by a guard from the prince's manor. Your Highness, Miss Su has a sudden heart palpitation. She can't even take her medicine. Lu Ji's expression changed. He turned and left, without looking back at me or the scattered beads. Jin Shu looked at me with pity in her eyes. She picked up all the scattered beads one by one. Princess, I'll find a craftsman to fix them immediately. No need. I took the beads and threw them directly into the charcoal brazier. Even the person who wished for my safety is no longer here. What use are these beads? The room fell silent, save for the crackling sound of the wooden beads burning. Wisps of smoke rose and quickly dissipated. Just like my obsession with Lu Ji all these years. Suddenly, it was all gone. 3 days later was the grand ritual for Dezhou held every 3 years. According to the protocol, the imperial father would stand on the grand platform at the end of the procession, circling the city dozens of times to pray for peace and prosperity. Unexpectedly, an accident occurred. On the third lap around the city, the incense in my father's hand snapped. It was as if even the heavens were signaling that if the two nations went to war, Dezhou might not survive the turmoil. This ominous sign forced the ritual to end prematurely. I watched my father return to the palace with a grim expression. I followed him alone. Entering the study, I knelt down once more without a word. Imperial Father, please let me go for the marriage alliance. Something I can resolve alone. Why waste resources and lives, making soldiers bleed on the battlefield? You are the ruler of a nation, the father of all people, not just my father. Please issue the decree, Father. He looked at me with sorrow. After a long silence, he finally agreed. My beloved daughter, Manhwa, is pure of heart and elegant of manner. I treasure her as a gem. Yet I know the princess carries the burden of the state. Today, I issue this decree. Princess Manhwa is hereby conferred the title of Princess Chang'an to be married far away to De Liang. As for the date, I bowed my head low. Let it be in 10 days. The 8th of next month. That was the day before Lu Ji and Su Xiaoxiao's wedding. At that time, he will marry his wife, and I will protect the country through marriage. It seems fitting for such auspicious dates. 4 days later was the palace banquet. I went to Tianqing Palace with my father. Just as I entered the seating area, I heard several people gossiping. This Su Xiaoxiao is truly lucky. When the princess was chasing the prince, it was such a grand spectacle. Everyone thought Lu Ji would marry the princess. Unexpectedly, he had no regard for royal dignity at all. Turning around to marry Su Xiaoxiao, Lu Ji and Su Xiaoxiao were childhood sweethearts. He promised to come back and marry her 10 years ago. Their love is as solid as gold. Lu Ji and Su Xiaoxiao actually knew each other since childhood. They even had a marriage agreement 10 years ago. My mind went blank for a moment. Before I could react, I saw Lu Ji suddenly stand and walk to the center of the hall. He knelt before my father. "Your Majesty, I have a request." I looked over, feeling a sense of unease. My father said, "Speak." Lu Ji's cold voice echoed steadily and slowly through the hall. "I request that the day before my wedding, the princess be sent to Guanghua Temple." Instantly, everyone's eyes were fixed on me. Although Lu Ji didn't say it explicitly, his meaning was clear. He was afraid I would ruin his and Su Xiaoxiao's wedding, but he didn't know that was the very day I was to leave for the marriage alliance. My father frowned, looking displeased. "I have a decree to announce. On the 8th of next month, my Princess Nua." "Imperial father," I stepped forward and knelt, interrupting my father's voice. I cupped my hands in a salute. "I am willing to go to the temple to pray for the nation and its people." Lu Ji gave me a surprised look. For the past 3 years, I had chased Lu Ji with such fervor that it brought shame to the royal family. This time, I wanted to leave quietly. There was no need to make the marriage alliance a public spectacle. My father understood my meaning. He nodded and granted it. After expressing my thanks, I returned to my mother's side. I was held tightly in her arms, as she already knew the secret of the marriage alliance and felt heartbroken for me. From beginning to end, I didn't look at Lu Ji once. After the banquet ended, I returned to my chambers. After Jinshu helped me change, I dismissed her. My gaze swept across the room inch by inch. Because I had gone to Guanghua Temple at a young age, I didn't have many things in the palace. The few chests were filled with things the guards had just moved back from Guanghua Temple. I opened the chests one by one to see what I could take with me. After all, once I left, I would likely never return. Books, clothes, jewelry. In the last chest were rolls of paper scrolls. Those were paintings Lu Ji had painted for me. I was frail as a child. Whenever there was a small change, whether I had gained a little weight or my complexion had improved, he would paint it. He said it was so I could look back on it later. From age 8 to 15, 7 years of my life were seen through Lu Ji's eyes and captured in those paintings. The last painting was done by Lu Ji on my 15th birthday. I was wearing a dress he had commissioned, adorned with unique jewelry he had crafted by a master artisan. I was smiling radiantly. He was so good to me, treating me as if I were a precious treasure. How could I not be moved? I stared at it in a daze for a long while. I called Jinshu and told her to take all these paintings to the courtyard and burn them. Jinshu was full of heartache. "Princess, even if you've let go of your obsession, there's no need to burn these paintings. The person in these paintings is you. You are meant to live a long life. Burning paintings of oneself is bad luck." But I was stubborn and had the chests carried out anyway. The night air was cold. I took a deep breath, my lungs filling with the chill. "Light the fire." The guard lit a fire starter and threw it in. The flames quickly rose, consuming me and the paintings bit by bit. Watching them turn to ash, those 10 years that were so hard to let go of seemed to become blurred as well. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind me. "Nua, what are you doing?" Before I could even turn around, Lu Ji had already walked up. He saw in the fire a small piece of scorched yellow paper fluttering, with a faint outline of a painting still visible. His pupils constricted, and he instinctively reached out to save the last painting, but it was too late after all. The ashes drifted away from his palm. He looked at me with reddened eyes. "Why did you burn the paintings?" The rising flames scorched his fingers red. "I don't understand. Why should he care that these paintings were burned? Only by severing everything with the past can there be a clean break. Isn't this what you wanted, uncle?" Lu Ji looked at the pile of ash with a dark expression. I withdrew my gaze. "It is late. Is there a reason you've come to my palace, uncle?" Lu Ji's voice was slightly cold. "You agreed so readily to go to Guanghua Temple. Do you have some other plan?" I suddenly felt a bitter taste in my mouth. He was afraid I would ruin his wedding and wanted to send me out of the capital. I agreed, yet he thought I had other motives. But then again, who told the past version of me to love him so much? It was natural for him to be suspicious. "You can rest assured, uncle, I will absolutely not ruin your wedding. If you don't believe me, you can personally escort me to Guanghua Temple." I lowered my eyes. "It's getting late. You should head back, uncle. Jinshu, see the Prince of Jinbei out." After saying that, I turned and went back to my bed. Saying more was useless. Only when that day truly comes will he believe that I have truly let go. I didn't see Lu Ji again for the next few days. He was busy with wedding preparations, and I was busy preparing for the marriage alliance. The female official from the Bureau of Ceremonies had just finished measuring me for my bridal gown when Jinshu walked in fuming with anger. "What's wrong?" I looked at her. Jinshu's eyes were red with grievance. "Princess, that Prince of Jinbei is too much. The betrothal gifts he's giving the Su family daughter amount to a total of 168 chests. As a princess, you can have at most 120 chests of dowry. Because of the marriage alliance and how much the Emperor and Queen love you, they made an exception and increased yours to 150 chests. How could he let Su Xiaoxiao surpass you?" I paused for a moment. "How did you know?" Jinshu stomped her foot in anger. "It's all over the news outside. To bypass the rules, the Prince of Jinbei went to the palace today to specifically request His Majesty's approval. So that's how it was. I didn't expect that to support Su Xiaoxiao. Lu Ji would go to such lengths. It seemed he truly cared about her. It made the small kindnesses he once showed me seem insignificant now. I looked at the falling snow outside the window, suddenly remembering before I was 15. Lu Ji once told me, Nua, when you get married, your uncle will surely prepare a massive dowry for you. At that time, I already knew my heart belonged to him, so I naturally didn't want it. Imperial father and mother will prepare it for me. You don't need to trouble yourself, uncle. Lu Ji curled his lips slightly. Then, what does our Nua want? I didn't say anything. I couldn't tell him that I wanted his heart. Now that I am truly getting married, I didn't get what I wished for, and he has also broken his promise. I took a deep breath. Imperial father will decide on this matter. Let him be. Are the plum blossoms in the Imperial garden all in bloom? Jinshu, come with me to see them. After all, it will be hard to see them again in the future. Jinshu's eyes turned red, and she quickly followed me. Together, we stepped into the fluttering snow. Walking to the Imperial Garden, I looked at the red plum blossoms in the snow, remembering there was also a plum grove near Guanghua Temple. I used to love watching the plum blossoms fall piece by piece. I would always fall ill as soon as winter arrived. Lu Ji would wrap me up tightly and hold me in his arms, taking me to the plum grove to admire the red blossoms covering the mountains. Back then, the snow turned our hair white. It was as if we had grown old together once in this lifetime. Princess, it's too cold out. We should head back early. Jinshu draped a heavy cloak over me. Just as I turned around, I saw another pair of figures in the Imperial Garden. Su Xiaoxiao's shoulders were draped in Lu Ji's cloak, and her hands were held within his palm. The falling snow turned their hair white. They looked like a perfect match. I didn't step forward to disturb them, but simply turned and walked back quietly. After walking a few steps, Jinshu hesitated behind me and spoke. Princess, do you really not plan to tell the Prince of Jinbei that you are going for a marriage alliance? After this parting, it will be hard to meet again. I stopped, about to answer. But looking past Jinshu, I met Lu Ji's eyes as he approached unknowingly. His brow was deeply furrowed, as if staring into my very soul. What marriage alliance? Who is going for a marriage alliance? Lu Ji looked at me with a dark, heavy gaze. The string of prayer beads he had given to Su Xiaoxiao was somehow back in his palm again, being nervously fingered by him. This was a habit he only had when he was agitated. I lowered my eyes calmly. Uncle, you misheard. Lu Ji stared at me, his intuition telling him something was wrong. But on second thought, a marriage alliance is a major state affair. If it were true, there should have been an official decree. Ji? Su Xiaoxiao's voice came from behind, interrupting Lu Ji's thoughts. He responded with a grunt, and when he looked up again, I was already gone. I took Jinshu back to my palace. The beautiful scenery I had been longing for suddenly became dull and tasteless. The day of the marriage alliance drew closer. This meant that Lu Ji and Su Xiaoxiao's wedding was also fast approaching. Without intentionally listening, more and more news reached my ears. For example, the emperor had agreed to Lu Ji's request, and the 168 chests of betrothal gifts for Su Xiaoxiao had already entered the Su household. Or that, since Lu Ji's parents had long passed and there were no elders, Lu Ji had invited the highly respected abbot of Guanghua Temple to witness his wedding, vowing not to let Su Xiaoxiao suffer any grievances. The entire capital was stirred by this wedding. When I heard this news, I thought I would feel a pang in my heart, but to my surprise, I was very calm. The wound I had forcibly carved into my heart seemed to have fully healed, leaving not even a trace of pain. I suddenly remembered when I was at Guanghua Temple, I had once asked the abbot for a fortune stick, asking if I could ever be with Lu Ji. The abbot simply said it was a pipe dream, and ultimately impossible. At that time, I didn't believe it, firmly believing that between me and Lu Ji, it was nothing more than the obstacle of status, difficult but not truly insurmountable. In fact, everything was destined long ago. Those destined to be together will find each other even after 10 years. Like Lu Ji and Su Xiaoxiao, those who have no fate together will part even after 10 years of companionship. Like Lu Ji and me, I pushed these disturbances to the back of my mind and quietly prepared for the ceremony. The day soon arrived. I was to leave the palace, pretending to head to Guanghua Temple, but actually setting off for the marriage alliance in Daliang. I had already agreed with father and mother that tonight I would depart from Guanghua Temple and head directly out of the city. Just when I thought I wouldn't see Lu Ji again before leaving, the palace doors were suddenly pushed open. Lu Ji walked in, looking travel-worn, his face filled with anxiety. Nua, Xiaoxiao suddenly has a persistent high fever. I need that pill you have in your possession. As long as you give it to me, I will agree to anything you want. He stood in the snow, unable to catch his breath from the rush. My throat felt as if a thorn had been lodged in it. The pill he wanted was the life-saving elixir my father had left for me. Because I was frail and sickly back then, father used the resources of the whole nation to gather the 3 rare ingredients of a secret recipe, which were made into 3 pills. Now, only the last one remained. It was the one I was to take with me to Daliang, my final lifeline. But now, just because Su Xiaoxiao had a fever, Lu Ji wanted to take this pill for her. My voice was dry. It is just a fever. Let the palace physicians have a look. Lu Ji interrupted me. What do you mean, just a fever? Xiaoxiao has never been sick before. This illness must be very serious. I don't want to see her suffer. Much less have this delay our wedding. I suddenly bit the tip of my tongue, the taste of blood spreading in my mouth. What about me? You know how important this pill is to me. Lu Ji didn't back down at all. After my wedding, I will do everything in my power to help you find those ingredients again, and refine the pill for you once more. You are a princess. Nothing will happen to you after all. But Xiaoxiao is different. I owe her too much. My heart jolted, and my hands and feet went cold. Lu Ji knew very well that this pill was vital to me, yet he still asked for it. Choosing Su Xiaoxiao instead, I forcefully swallowed the bitterness in my throat. Jinshu, bring the pill to the Prince of Jinbei. Jinshu was shocked. Princess, this absolutely cannot be done. You don't have time to wait for. I curtly interrupted her, not letting her finish her sentence. I knew what she wanted to say. That I didn't have time to wait for another pill to be refined. But even so, I was still going to give it to him. I placed the medicine box into Lu Ji's hand. Uncle, you don't need to do anything for me ever again. Giving you this pill today will serve to repay all the kindness you've shown me over these years. Lu Ji gripped the medicine box, that same strange feeling surfacing in his heart again. Looking at Jinshu's reluctant expression, his brow furrowed even deeper. What kind of riddles are you two speaking in? It is nothing. You should head back, uncle. Miss Su is still waiting for you. I avoided his gaze. At the mention of Su Xiaoxiao, Lu Ji finally stopped being stubborn. He turned and headed out. The moment before he stepped out the door, something occurred to him, and he turned back to me. When do you leave for Guanghua Temple? I answered, in half an hour. Lu Ji nodded. Good. When the wedding is over, I will personally go to Guanghua Temple to bring you back. By then, I will definitely refine the pill you need again. I didn't argue, just watched as his figure grew further away. Once Lu Ji was far gone, Jinshu couldn't help but complain for me. Princess, when you get to Daliang, we don't even know what the situation will be like. That medicine was so important to you. You shouldn't have given it to him. I sighed. I have owed him much over these 10 years. Now we are even. I no longer have to carry any burdens in my heart. No attachments, no debts. I can head to the marriage alliance with a peace of mind. Let's go. Jinshu draped the cloak over me, and I stepped out of the palace gates. Arriving at the main gates of the imperial palace, father and mother were already there waiting. Mother clutched a handkerchief and held me in her arms, her tears falling uncontrollably. My child, after this departure, will mother ever see you again? My eyes turned red, but besides returning mother's hug more tightly, I couldn't say a single word, because I knew very well that once I left, I might never be able to return. Daliang is so far away from the Great Zhou. Mother, father, after your daughter leaves, please take care of yourselves. I believe that one day I will certainly be able to return to see you again. I left mother's embrace and kowed out to them both in the heavy snow. Then, I boarded the carriage without looking back. Under the protection of the army, the procession set off grandly for Guanghua Temple and then toward Daliang. The drifting snow covered the path I came from and blurred the road ahead. From now on, the mountains and rivers stretch between us, and we are parted forever. At the Su residence, after Lu Ji had the physician administer the pill to Su Xiaoxiao, her complexion gradually improved. After a while, Su Xiaoxiao opened her eyes. Ji. Lu Ji, with an indifferent expression, avoided the hand she reached out. It is good that you are fine. Rest a bit more. Do not miss the big event tomorrow. After saying that, he got up to leave. Su Xiaoxiao's eyes dimmed. Tomorrow is our wedding day. Yet you won't even give me a single smile? Lu Ji's pace faltered slightly, his voice still without any emotion. It is just each of us taking what we need. I will give you what you want. And I will not mistreat you in the future. But some things cannot be forced. I know the rumors of us being childhood sweethearts were intentionally spread by you. I will not pursue it. But do not do such a thing again. He strode away, closing the door behind him. Just as he walked out of the Su residence, a guard stepped forward. My prince, the princess has already departed for Guanghua Temple. However, what's strange is that the escort procession is exceptionally long, and they seem to be carrying a lot of things. Lu Ji froze for a moment. What things? The guard shook his head. The sky was too dark. Your subordinate couldn't see clearly. Lu Ji felt that irrepressible unease again. After a moment of silence, he ordered, find a few people to keep an eye on Guanghua Temple. If there is any movement, report to me immediately. The guard took the order and left. Lu Ji also rode back to the Prince of Jinbei's manor. The manor was very quiet. After his parents passed away, he had dismissed most of the servants, leaving only a few who had followed him the longest. Lu Ji didn't go back to his room, but stood under the sycamore tree in the courtyard all night. Daybreak soon arrived. The servants came to help Lu Ji change clothes, and the wedding procession was already waiting at the door. My prince, the auspicious hour has arrived. It is time to depart. Lu Ji gave a grunt of acknowledgement. Before heading out, he looked up toward the direction of Guanghua Temple. On the mountain covered by heavy snow, the roof of Guanghua Temple was so far it was almost invisible. My prince? Lu Ji withdrew his gaze. Let's go. The manor gates opened wide, with the sound of gongs and drums filling the air. Lu Ji, dressed in bright red, flipped himself onto his horse. For some reason, there was always some unease in his heart. From a distance, Lu Ji saw that the bulletin board, which was originally empty, now had a notice posted on it. What major event was being announced to the world? Lu Ji frowned and stopped his horse, instructing a guard, what imperial decree did the emperor issue? Go and see. The guard soon returned after looking, but he was stammering and couldn't speak clearly. "My prince, it is nothing major. The auspicious hour has arrived. You should head off to meet the bride first." Lu Ji could tell something was wrong at a glance. The unease in his heart grew stronger and stronger. He simply flipped off his horse and strode toward the bulletin board. There, he saw the emperor's decree written in formal characters. "By grace of heaven, the emperor decrees, the king of Dalian has repeatedly invaded our great Zhou territory. Our nation is based on benevolence and justice, upholding peace. We specially grant a princess for a marriage alliance. To resolve this with friendship, we have selected Princess Nua to be conferred as Princess Chang'an to be married far away to Dalian by imperial order." And the date at the corner of the notice was none other than yesterday. Lu Ji felt as if he had been struck over the head. His mind was buzzing, and his face turned pale. Nua is going for a marriage alliance? How could that be possible? With such a major thing like a marriage alliance, how could Nua have kept it from him? She was the only legitimate princess of Great Zhou, with a weak body and a pampered nature. How could she dare to go to Dalian all alone? Not to mention Nua loved him so much, she wouldn't have agreed to a marriage alliance. But the bright imperial seal on the notice could not be faked, and no one would dare to fake it. Suddenly, Lu Ji's body stiffened. He thought of how Dalian had been restless at the border, but then suddenly stopped all aggression. His heart became increasingly uneasy. He hadn't cared before, but thinking about it now, it was indeed abnormal. Could it be? Lu Ji didn't dare to imagine that possibility any further. Lu Ji seemed to have just regained his reason. He flew onto his horse, turned and sped toward the city gate. "My prince! My prince!" The wedding procession behind him fell into chaos. Everyone was trying to stop him, but Lu Ji couldn't hear anything anymore. He only knew he had to see Nua immediately to calm his frantically beating heart. If it were fake, then so be it. But if it were true, he would absolutely not allow it. Half an hour later, Lu Ji had reached the city gate. He took out his command token and signaled the guards to open the gate. However, they didn't move. Lu Ji frowned and said coldly, "Open the city gate." The soldier's face looked troubled. "My prince, it's not that we won't let you leave. It's that His Majesty has instructed us not to let you out. If you insist on leaving the city, it will be treated as defying an imperial decree. We are just following orders. Please do not blame us." Lu Ji never expected that the emperor would be guarding against him. The sense of foreboding was stronger than ever before. Why would the emperor do this? The answer was ready to come out. At this, he had no choice but to turn around and head toward the imperial palace. Lu Ji held on to a last sliver of hope, thinking perhaps this was another one of Nua's schemes. She had done things like this before. After all, the emperor and empress loved her so much. How could they bear to let her go for a marriage alliance? She was probably hiding somewhere, waiting for him to find her. Lu Ji subconsciously refused to think that even if the emperor indulged Nua, he would never joke about state affairs. In the palace's imperial study, after Lu Ji paid his respects, he asked directly, "Your Majesty, I have heard that the princess has departed for a marriage alliance in Dalian. Is this true or false?" The emperor's brow arched slightly. "If it is true, what then? If it is false, what then?" "Ji, this has nothing to do with you." Lu Ji opened his mouth, but those arguments he had repeatedly confirmed in his mind could not be voiced. Arguments like he was her uncle, or they had been together for many years, or that Nua loved him. But they weren't blood related. And these 3 years of conflict had likely exhausted all the affection between them. Moreover, Nua's love for him was something he and the emperor had never spoken about openly. It seemed that as long as they didn't speak of it, it was just Nua's playful and willful behavior. If he admitted it, the royal family would then have an excuse to intervene. Seeing that he didn't speak, the emperor sighed. "It is true, Dalian has repeatedly violated our borders. Nua took the initiative to ask for the marriage alliance. You don't need to worry. I have sent many people to protect her." Lu Ji stood frozen on the spot. For the first time, he didn't hear what the emperor was saying, his mind buzzing. Nua really went for the marriage alliance. She even made the decision right after returning to the palace. But they had met so many times, yet she never mentioned it to him once. It was intentionally keeping him from knowing. Why would she do that? Lu Ji suddenly looked up at the emperor. "Your Majesty, there is still time. If I ride there now?" The emperor raised a hand to interrupt him. "Ji, don't forget that today is your wedding day. You have to think of your wife." Lu Ji's words were stuck in his throat. It was true, he was getting married today, and he had left his bride alone. But his marriage to Su Xiaoxiao was originally born from a deal, never because of mutual love. For Lu Ji and Su Xiaoxiao, it originally started with their parents' wishes and a matchmaker's words. However, back then after Lu Ji's parents died in battle, his heart was only set on revenge and reclaiming lost lands. At that time, he thought he might never return, so he broke off the engagement with Su Xiaoxiao. Later, when he returned in victory, he was all alone, and being determined to pray for his parents, he never thought about getting married. Lu Ji was isolated from the world in the temple, never expecting Su Xiaoxiao to take the initiative to spread the word that she would wait for him for 10 years. When he got the news, it was already time for him to return to secular life. Lu Ji found Su Xiaoxiao and asked her why she did that. Su Xiaoxiao, with red eyes, said, "I never thought of using this to force the prince. It was truly because I was also at my wit's end." Lu Ji's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Su Xiaoxiao hesitated for a long time before answering in a low voice. I was born with a condition. I am unable to bear children. If this news were known, I would be gossiped about for the rest of my life. Who would marry a woman who couldn't bear children? For the family? But this matter cannot be hidden. If I were to get married by chance, it would be found out sooner or later. It can be hidden for a while, but not for a lifetime. Lu Ji said calmly, then you should have mentioned it to me even less. Su Xiaoxiao shook her head, because I can see that the prince does not like me. You didn't even plan on getting married, did you? I originally thought of using you as an excuse first, delaying until I become an old maid whom no one wants to marry. Then I probably wouldn't have to worry anymore. But since you haven't thought about getting married, why not consider me? You don't care about having children. And I just need a roof over my head to shield me from the wind and rain. Lu Ji made a promise. Su Xiaoxiao continued, I know the prince has long suffered from the princess's pestering. Marrying me is a good choice. It can both end the princess's hopes, and you won't have to worry about others wanting to be matchmakers for you. You have been away from the capital for too long. Perhaps you don't know, there are already many people eyeing the position of the princess consort of Jinbei. Even if you don't agree to marry, what about the princess? As long as you don't marry, she will never give up. So the prince might as well marry me. I will not interfere in your affairs. And there's no need to worry about me. Lu Ji thought for a while, and he had to admit Su Xiaoxiao was right. He could ignore what others said, but he couldn't watch Nuo continue with such nonsense day after day. He had watched her grow up. He was her nominal younger uncle. Furthermore, His Majesty had entrusted him to take good care of Nuo. If he and Nuo were to be together, the world would only condemn them for disregarding social ethics. Moreover, he wouldn't be able to face the emperor. As a man, to him, once the storm passed, this would just be a romantic scandal. But the world is much harsher toward women. Nuo's life would become much more difficult. Even if she was a princess, why should she have to endure such a thing? Nuo was born to be held in the palm of one's hand. So Lu Ji agreed to Su Xiaoxiao's proposal. He accepted the 10-year pact Su Xiaoxiao mentioned, and asked the emperor for her hand in marriage. Now Lu Ji realized he had thought of it too simply. Even though Su Xiaoxiao promised everything would remain as before, once you have a family, you ultimately have to bear a responsibility. One cannot be as free-spirited as before. Even when he wanted to go find Nuo, he had to think about how to handle this new bride. The emperor saw his hesitation, and sharpened his tone. Ji, before the marriage was granted, I asked if you had thought it through. You said you had. Are you regretting it now? Regret? Did he regret it now? Lu Ji opened his mouth to speak, but the emperor interrupted him. Enough, this matter is already settled. Don't think too much about it. Nuo has already gone for the marriage alliance, and your wedding is at hand. Do not cause any more trouble. For your lapse in judgment today, I can let it pass. I will issue a decree stating you were away on my business and did not intentionally delay the wedding. Ji, think of your status. And think of the duties of the past princes of Jinbei. I have other matters. You may leave now. Lu Ji's body trembled. The words he hadn't spoken instantly vanished between his lips. He understood this was the emperor's warning and pressure. Generations of Jinbei princes were staunch royalists, loyal only to the emperor. He was a close minister of the Son of Heaven, taught since childhood to be loyal to the crown, share the ruler's burdens, and never make a wrong move. What happened between him and Nuo was already an impropriety. It could not continue down the wrong path. Lu Ji bowed his head and gave a difficult response. Then, he left the palace in a daze. Lu Ji knew he should ride back to his manor. The wedding ceremony wasn't finished. No matter which aspect he considered, he had to go back. But for some reason, he didn't even look at the Prince of Jinbei's manor as he passed, and headed straight for Guanghua Temple. When he reached the temple gates, Lu Ji stared at a spot covered in snow, his mind wandering for a long time. Last time, it was right there that Nuo knelt to receive the emperor's marriage decree. Lu Ji remembered when he walked out, the happiness she couldn't hide on her face. He also remembered when she learned the truth, how her face suddenly turned pale, and the disbelief in her eyes. Just as he thought she would fly into a rage, to Lu Ji's surprise, Nuo just asked him a few questions very calmly, and then said nothing more. After he received the decree and returned to the study, he thought Nuo would soon follow to question him, but he waited for a long time. He waited until the wind and snow grew heavier outside, and the sky grew dark. Nuo still hadn't come. Lu Ji couldn't sit still anymore. It was truly cold that day. He was afraid something happened to Nuo, so he went to find her, only to learn that she had already left. Lu Ji was stunned for a moment. He thought she would argue, thought she would cause such a fuss that he couldn't get near her. But the only thing he hadn't expected was for Nuo to leave without saying a word. Right after he received the decree and left, Nuo had followed the eunuchs to the boat. Without hesitation, she left just like that, without asking anything. That day, Lu Ji sat alone in Nuo's room for a long time. Originally, his secularization ceremony was set for the next day. Not knowing his own motives, he held a simple ceremony early, and left the temple. When Lu Ji rode to the city gate, he saw Nuo, who had left long ago. She was entering the city gate, kneeling with every step. No matter how the servants beside her tried to persuade her, she insisted on doing it. Nuo's hair, eyelashes, and eyebrows were covered in a thin layer of ice, but she seemed not to feel the cold. Her movements mechanical and her expression numb, like a puppet being controlled. Lu Ji didn't understand why she was doing this. A second later, as he watched in confusion, he saw Nua kneel and kowtow again. Her voice was weak yet firm. I, Nua, will never love again in this life. If I, Lu Ji, ever break my word, let my life be filled with hardships and nothing go my way. In that instant, the swirling heavy snow seemed to fall into his heart, bone-chillingly cold. Lu Ji clearly felt a sense of panic, along with an indescribable heartache. He had spent so much effort to carefully nurture this person into someone healthy, vibrant, and lively, yet in the end, she was swearing to break all ties with him, kneeling in the freezing snow, shaking all over from the cold but refusing to give up, and he had no standing to stop her, let alone take her back as he had before. Lu Ji dismounted and quietly accompanied Nua through the same snowfall. He watched her collapse at the palace gate and only returned to the manor after the queen's people took her away. Sure enough, the next day, news came from the palace that the princess was gravely ill. Lu Ji, ignoring his own cold, took all the experience concerning Nua that he had accumulated over 10 years and wrote it all down. But when he actually wrote down Nua's little habits and preferences word by word, Lu Ji knew he was reluctant to let go. Was he reluctant to lose this person who had long since become family, or was it something else? He didn't know himself. He only knew that no matter what, he wanted Nua to be well. He handed the written manual to his attendant. From the moment it was sent into the palace, Lu Ji clearly realized that Nua was no longer his to worry about. After returning to secular life, Lu Ji used the excuse of illness to recuperate at home and didn't visit the emperor. When Nua had recovered from her illness, he took Su Xiaoxiao along and entered the palace under the pretext of thanking the emperor for his grace. As he expected, he ran into Nua. She looked much thinner. Lu Ji subconsciously wanted to ask how her recovery was going, but Su Xiaoxiao, beside him, gave him a look. Only then did he snap out of it and proceeded to act as if he were very intimate with her. To his surprise, Nua greeted him with perfect etiquette. She called him the Prince of Jinbei, a very distant form of address. Then she walked away. Lu Ji felt a bitter taste in his heart, an indescribable blockage. It shouldn't be like this. He had never thought they would reach such a state of being strangers. He only wanted her to give up her hope and continue to be his obedient junior. He would have taken care of her as before. He never thought Nua would retreat to such a respectful distance. A gust of cold wind blew by. Lu Ji withdrew his thoughts. Before him was neither the palace nor Nua. He pushed open the temple door and found Nua's room. She had left suddenly, barely taking any of her own things. The other trinkets left in the room were mostly gifts from him. Looking at them, Lu Ji could almost see Nua's happy and surprised expression when she received the gifts. Everything was as it used to be. It was as if the room's owner had just gone out to have fun as before and would return soon. But she didn't. She never came back, and she never would. Lu Ji sat in the room, crying until dawn, until a guard found him. Your Highness, the matter of your sudden departure and not returning last night has caused an uproar in the capital this morning. Even though the emperor helped you explain, it still hasn't stopped the rumors. The public is talking. The Su family has come to the door to demand an explanation. The princess consort is handling it and said you should return quickly. Lu Ji frowned deeply. Only then did he remember this matter. In his eyes, this marriage was just each party getting what they needed. He had never taken it to heart. He truly regretted it. Getting married was too hasty. Now he had to deal with this series of problems brought about by Su Xiaoxiao. Lu Ji stood up. Having not spoken for a long time, his voice sounded extremely raspy. When he washed up, he realized he was actually still wearing yesterday's wedding robes. The festive red was particularly jarring in his eyes. The day before yesterday, Nua had also worn such red to go to De Liang for the marriage alliance. Lu Ji, even without seeing it, could probably imagine that color. Nua was so delicate. The first time she ever traveled far from home, it was for a marriage alliance. To marry someone she didn't know at all. Would she be afraid? Would she cry? Surely she would. She even needed him to coax her to take her medicine. In this freezing winter, rushing toward a completely unknown fate, how could she not be afraid? Lu Ji's breath hitched, and his heart felt a dull pain. Nua's health had always been poor. Only by being raised with the finest medicines and luxury could she live happily and without worry. Fortunately, she was born into the royal family. In the past, Lu Ji only felt she was born to enjoy life, to be held and pampered by everyone. But if he had foreseen this day, he would rather she stayed at Guanghua Temple for the rest of her life. De Liang was bitter and cold. How could she survive it? Lu Ji closed his eyes to hide the emotions within and returned to the manor after changing his clothes. The front hall of the manor was already full of people from the Su family. Occasional shouts of reprimand could be heard, along with Su Xiaoxiao's gentle attempts to soothe them. Master Su was furious. This is simply too much. What was his attitude when he wanted to marry you? What is it now? To dare to leave you all alone before the wedding was even over. Our entire Su family has become a laughingstock. Madame Su looked at Su Xiaoxiao with worry and pity. Even though this marriage is a step up for the Su family, for him to disregard you like this, leaving you to spend the wedding night alone, how will he treat you well in the future? In this one lifetime, the Su family's face has been crushed to pieces. Everyone says our Su family is selling our daughter and nobody wants her. What will happen to your younger sister's reputation? How will those high-ranking families ever look at her? Su Xiaoxiao's face looked troubled. Father, mother, please don't worry. The prince just had an urgent matter to attend to. He isn't usually like this. Lu Ji slowly entered the room. Even though they were joined by marriage, Master Su's official rank and status were still much lower than his. Seeing him, Master Su reluctantly saluted. Your Highness, although your status is noble, concerning what happened yesterday, perhaps you should give us an explanation. Though my Su family is not as grand as the prince's manor, we are not people that anyone can just trample on. Since you were willing to give 168 loads of betrothal gifts, Xiao Xiao must have held a place in your heart. Why would you humiliate her at the most important moment? Lu Ji sidestepped and did not accept the salute. He looked at Su Xiaoxiao. I thought your family knew about this matter. Su Xiaoxiao dodged Lu Ji's gaze. She whispered an explanation. Your Highness, we can discuss this later. The most important thing right now is how to calm the current rumors. Lu Ji looked at her for a long time before speaking. Master Su and Madam Su will stay. Everyone else, leave. Su Xiaoxiao seemed to have a premonition and nervously grabbed Lu Ji's sleeve. Your Highness, I will explain to you. Enough. Lu Ji interrupted her coldly. Su Xiaoxiao stopped speaking, her eyes full of unease. The front hall fell into silence. Master Su and Madam Su looked at her in confusion. Xiaoxiao, what exactly is going on? What are you and the prince talking about? Lu Ji threw out a single sentence. Does the Su family really not know about the deal between Miss Su and me? A deal? What deal? Master Su and Madam Su were still completely baffled, but they sensed something ominous. They looked at Su Xiaoxiao anxiously. Xiaoxiao, why haven't you told us anything? Just as Lu Ji was about to speak, Su Xiaoxiao beat him to it. Father, mother, my marriage with the prince was indeed a deal. With an embarrassed look on her face, she made her schemes public. Back when the prince broke off our engagement, how many people mocked me for being rejected by the manor? At that time, even if I had hurriedly married off, it wouldn't have been to a good match. So I simply said I had an agreement with the prince to wait for him for 10 years. At first, the prince didn't know I had made up that lie. The reason I married the prince was, on one hand, my lie could no longer be covered up, and on the other hand, the prince needed a wife. So he entered into this deal. It was all my fault. The prince didn't need to do anything for me. Yet he still helped me save face. Yesterday he also had an important matter to handle. We can't blame him. Her parents let out a long sigh. Since you've already figured it out. Your mother and I will no longer interfere in these matters. Go your own way from now on. Your Highness, today's matter was due to my daughter's improper behavior. Please forgive us. Xiaoxiao is usually very sensible. Although she was wrong this time. Please be more patient with her. Lu Ji turned and sat in the main seat. You were still lying just now. Does the Su family not know that your body is unfit for bearing children? Su Xiaoxiao shook her head. For any woman. This is something hard to speak of. I haven't even told my own parents. Thank you, Your Highness, for saving some face for me today. Lu Ji took a sip of tea. I will go to the emperor to ask for a divorce. The betrothal gifts will be given as compensation. You may also take all of your dowry. With this money, even if you don't marry, you can live quite well. Su Xiaoxiao suddenly looked at him. Your Highness, you want to divorce me? She was somewhat stunned and at a loss. Why so suddenly? Why the divorce? Your Highness, we only bowed to each other yesterday. I will clarify those rumors. They will never bother you. Lu Ji interrupted her. We haven't truly completed the wedding ceremony, so it doesn't even count as a divorce. Besides, you know in your heart how much you've hidden. Since you weren't honest from the start, then this deal naturally doesn't count either. Su Xiaoxiao's expression grew anxious. Your Highness, let the matter end here. Lu Ji spoke with finality. He got up and left, not wanting to hear any more, his departure resolute. He didn't see behind him Su Xiaoxiao's flickering expression. Lu Ji returned to his study. On the desk was an unfinished painting spread out. The person in the painting was Nua. It was the plum forest, the way she looked when he saw her in the snow that day. Lu Ji originally thought Nua would give up after he married. And at that time they would still have that same close, comfortable relationship as before. With such expectations, after a gap of 3 years, he had picked up the brush again to paint Nua. Strictly speaking, it hadn't been 3 years. He still thought about painting her every year. Only, whenever it came time to sketch her face, the brush in his hand seemed to disobey him, making him unable to make a stroke for a long time. Since Nua's coming-of-age ceremony, he had tried to paint her several times, but could never finish her face. In the end, he could only put them away carefully. This painting on the desk was the first time in 3 years he had painted her full face. Every stroke was poured with 3 years of forbearance and helplessness. Now the painting was nearly finished, but the person in the painting was gone. From now on, even if he wanted to paint her, he could only sketch how she used to look. Lu Ji thought of the words Nua had burned. Now, the one in his hand had become the last one. Those years they walked through together had just ended in a single sentence. Perhaps even then, she had already determined to break clean with him. Lu Ji took off the prayer beads from his wrist. The brush fell on the canvas, completing the final strokes of this painting. His unhurried manner seemed to show he was certain about everything he painted. His expression was calm, solemn and serious as if he were copying scriptures. But looking closely at the slightly trembling tip of his brush, one could catch a glimpse of his unsettled heart. When finished, he stared intently at the person in the painting. He murmured, "No. After all, it doesn't look like her." He had only been away from her for nearly a month. Yet he was already unsure if there were any changes in her current appearance. If it were a year or 10 years, could he still remember how she looked? Wouldn't he be unable to ever pick up the brush again? Lu Ji stayed alone in the study for 2 days, without a drop of water. No matter who came to persuade him, he refused to come out. On the 3rd day, he finally went to the palace to see the emperor. He knelt down and performed a grand salute. The emperor's expression didn't change, and he said lukewarmly, "I recall I exempted you from such etiquette. There's no need for such a grand salute." Lu Ji didn't get up, but spoke loudly, "Your Majesty, your servant Lu Ji dares to request your Majesty to send troops to Daliang to reclaim lost territories and his lost family." Throughout all these years, while people came and went, only Nua had always stayed by his side. They had long since become family to each other. The emperor's face was like a gathering storm. "What nonsense are you talking about? Nua just went to Daliang for the marriage alliance, and you want to send troops to Daliang? Are you afraid her life is too comfortable?" "Lu Ji, when did you become so reckless?" Lu Ji spoke bluntly, "Your Majesty, how can the stability of a country be exchanged for by sacrificing a woman? Besides, the wolfish ambitions of Daliang will certainly not stop because of a marriage alliance. We need to make preparations as soon as possible. By the time it takes, the princess shouldn't have reached Daliang yet. There's still a chance. With just one order from you, I will immediately lead troops to intercept them. I will send people to escort the princess back, and then I will stay at the border. As long as the war is not settled, I will not return for a single day." The emperor looked at him for a long while. "Are you doing this for Great Zhou? Or for Nua?" Lu Ji lowered his eyes and said nothing. Just before the emperor lost his patience, he replied, "Both." The emperor gave him a deep look, his tone ambiguous. "Ji, don't tell me you truly like Nua." Lu Ji shook his head. Before the emperor could breathe a sigh of relief, he heard Lu Ji say, "I don't know." He didn't know where his strong concern for Nua originated from. He wasn't sure if his care for her, which exceeded the normal boundaries of seniority, meant something. They had been companions for 10 years. He watched her grow from thin and weak to lively and vibrant. He stood by her as she overcame illness time and again. He saw her character become more bright and assertive. He had protected her for such a long time and so intently, even if it was an elder's care for a junior. Yet it held something more, something even he hadn't. Recognizing the truth and his own favoritism. So, when he realized that Nua loved him, Lu Ji felt more than just panic. He was at a total loss. He did not know how to face such an intense heart, let alone how to resolve this seemingly absurd situation. The etiquette and righteousness he studied taught him self-restraint and propriety. The Buddhist teachings he followed told him to renounce greed and obsession. Secular status and societal expectations were like an invisible net, trapping him tightly. He was a trusted minister of the Son of Heaven, the emperor's close friend entrusted with his daughter. If he were to be with Nua, it would only invite criticism of the imperial family's morality. He couldn't betray the emperor's trust. As a man, Lu Ji might be able to let this matter fade after some time, but the world has always been harsh toward women. Since Nua was a princess, she would only be haunted by rumors forever. That was the last thing he wanted. He always felt that Nua was born to be cherished in the palm of one's hand, untouched by the dust of the world. So he chose the most decisive way, using a transaction to cut off her feelings, not expecting that it would push her even further away. "Your Majesty, I have fallen for the princess." Lu Ji's voice carried a hint of barely perceptible hoarseness, as if he had finally shed a heavy disguise. The emperor's face darkened. "Do you know what you're saying?" Lu Ji nodded, his gaze firm. "I know. You may punish me however you wish. I only beg your Majesty to allow me to lead troops to Daliang to bring back the princess. The convoy has not yet arrived. There is still time to fix everything." The emperor snorted coldly, his tone final. "Impossible. A gentleman's word is his bond. A promise made cannot be taken back. The marriage alliance has already been announced to the world. How can it be easily revoked? Besides, Nua volunteered for this. If she were unwilling, I would never have forced her. Ji, you should see reality for what it is. It's already impossible between you two. Guards. The Prince of Jinbei has spoken recklessly. Confine him for 3 months. As a small warning." Lu Ji wanted to argue further, but he saw a cryptic look in the emperor's eyes. "How do you know Nua will have a bad life in Daliang? Perhaps someone has already been waiting for her there." Lu Ji froze, filled with doubt. What did the emperor mean by those words? Could there be someone in Daliang specifically waiting for Nua? Before he could ask, the imperial guard stepped forward respectfully but firmly escorted him back to the Prince of Jinbei's manor. Seeing the guard stationed at the gate, Lu Ji realized in his heart that the emperor had already anticipated his move. This was to cut off any possibility of him going to stop her. Su Xiaoxiao rushed over after hearing the news. Seeing the heavy security at the manor, she looked puzzled. "Your Highness, what is happening?" Only then did Lu Ji remember that he had not yet mentioned to the emperor the matter of his divorce from Su Xiaoxiao. But judging by the emperor's attitude today, His Majesty likely wished for him to cut ties with Manhwa completely. He naturally wouldn't agree to the divorce. On one side was his loyalty as a subject, on the other was the longing in his heart. He was caught in a dilemma. Lu Ji suddenly turned and entered the study. He opened the cabinet by the desk. Inside was a golden phoebe wood box. Lifting the lid, he found some feminine trinkets, along with stacks of notes filled with writing. These were the dowry items Manhwa had prepared for herself. The notes were love poems she had written to Lu Ji the day he received this gift. He had recognized their origin at a single glance. He had kept them without hesitation, replacing them with other riches for Su Xiaoxiao. How could he endure Manhwa's sincere feelings falling into someone else's hands? Lu Ji flipped through the love poems one by one. The shyness and passion between the lines seemed to allow him to see Manhwa. As she was writing them, he remembered clearly how he had used this deep affection to force her to give up step by step. Hurting her was never his intention. But in the end, he had done the most hurtful thing. At the bottom of the box lay a single prayer bead. It had rolled away from the broken string during their argument that day, and accidentally fell into his sleeve. This string of beads was carved by his own hands. He had fasted for 49 days to consecrate them just to keep her safe. Now, they were destroyed by his own hand too. Lu Ji remained despondent in the matter for 2 days, until a cold fragrance drifted to his nose. Only then did he slowly come to his senses. Su Xiaoxiao was holding a branch of blooming red plum blossoms, standing at the door with a gentle smile. "Your Highness, the plums in the manor have bloomed. I saw you liked them, so I picked some." Lu Ji reached out. A flash of joy appeared in Su Xiaoxiao's eyes, and she hurried to hand the branch forward. But in the next instant, Lu Ji suddenly pulled his hand back. The flower branch fell to the ground, and the petals scattered everywhere. "Your Highness?" Su Xiaoxiao looked stunned. Lu Ji frowned. He whispered she would never pick the flowers. The one who loved plums was Manhwa, but no matter how much she loved them, she had never picked a single one. She used to pull his sleeve and say, "Plum blossoms look best on the branch. Uncle, it's enough if I come to see them every year." So every winter, he would wrap her close tightly, carry her on his back into the plum grove, listen to her chatter in his ear, and hear the snow crunch under his feet. Those times now seemed beyond reach. The last time he saw Manhwa in the palace plum garden, he was actually joyful in his heart. He had wandered in the plum garden for a long time, not even knowing what he was looking for. It was only when he saw her figure that he realized he was waiting for her. Waiting to see if she still remembered their agreement, but he had missed her after all. "Get out." Lu Ji's voice turned cold. "Without my permission, you are not allowed to enter my courtyard again." Su Xiaoxiao's eyes reddened. With a hint of humiliation, she silently picked up the flower branch. Before leaving, she suddenly turned back, her tone sharp. "Your Highness likes the princess, but have you thought about this? If this affection is known by De Liang, it will only bring her disaster. You spent 10 years together day and night. If people speculate about improper behavior, how will the world view the princess? They will say that in Guanghua Temple, she violated the sacred precepts of the gods." Lu Ji clenched his fists, the anger in his chest almost uncontrollable. "Get out." After Su Xiaoxiao left, he was alone in the study. Her words were like a poisoned thorn, piercing his greatest fear. He always wanted to keep Manhwa safe, to let her always be a high and mighty princess, free from any criticism, but everything he did seemed to be pushing her into the eye of the storm. Lu Ji ordered a jar of strong wine. He hadn't touched alcohol since he started his spiritual practice, but now he only wanted to drown his sorrows. Only when drunk could he see Manhwa in his dreams. Even if she treated him coldly in the dream, he would accept it gladly. He didn't know how long he had been in a daze when soft footsteps were heard. Lu Ji frowned and shouted, "Didn't I say no one is to enter without my order?" His words stopped abruptly. He stared blankly at the person before him. Manhwa? Manhwa was looking at him with a smile. In her eyes was the admiration and reliance he hadn't seen in a long time. She whispered, "Uncle, will you marry me?" Lu Ji's throat moved. He closed his eyes and opened them again, his eyes filled with deep emotion. "Yes." Manhwa leaned close to him and whispered, "Remember what you said." The next morning, Lu Ji woke up to find Su Xiaoxiao lying beside him. His face turned grim. "Why are you here? Did I not say you are forbidden from entering my room?" Su Xiaoxiao's eyes were teary. "I heard the servants say you drank a lot, so I came to bring hangover soup. But you mistook me for the princess and wouldn't let me leave." Lu Ji's eyes were icy, without any morning grogginess. "Do you think I know nothing because I was drunk?" "Su Xiaoxiao, I'll give you one more chance to tell the truth." Su Xiaoxiao's face gradually paled. She knew the lie was flimsy, but she had to gamble. After being exposed, she simply knelt down. "I just didn't want to be abandoned right after getting married. I would have no place left in the capital." Lu Ji had a splitting headache. He waved his hand to have her taken away. He suddenly remembered that today was the 5th day since Manhwa's departure. According to the route, she would arrive at the De Liang Palace in 2 days. Time was running out. He certainly had ways to leave the capital by force, but that would be defying an imperial decree. The Prince of Jinbei's line had served for generations. Every ancestor took assisting the emperor as their duty. There had never been an act of rebellion. The reason he hadn't moved for days was that he was weighing loyalty against his heart. But when the morning light shone into the room, Lu Ji finally made a decision. He was going to find Nua. Once the thought arose, it could no longer be suppressed. He left behind the tiger tally and the prince's seal. He wrote a final memorial and a letter of divorce. He gave up the power in his hands and defied his ancestral teachings just to rush toward that figure thousands of miles away. Even if there was a tiger's den ahead, he would bring her back. If Great Joe had no place for them, he would take her to a far-off land. The world is vast, there would surely be a place for them. After a month of travel, the marriage convoy finally entered the capital of Daliang. Before entering the palace, I first went to the post station to wash up and rest. I dismissed all the maids, even telling Jinshu to wait outside. I clutched the jade pendant around my neck. The Empress Dowager had put it on me before she died. She said it could keep me safe for a lifetime. When I was young, she would always hold me and nag, saying she'd find me an honest and reliable husband and build the princess's manor near the palace so she could see me every day. But she probably never thought that I would eventually go down the path of a marriage alliance. Grandmother, if you have a spirit, please bless me so everything goes smoothly this time, and that I can bring peace to the two countries. I murmured softly. Are you really willing to marry someone you've never met? A familiar voice sounded from behind. I broke out in a cold sweat. I turned to see Lu Ji taking off a traveling hat. That handsome face was the image carved into my bones. Lu Ji, why are you here? I forgot all etiquette and called his name directly. He stepped forward and gripped my hand tightly. The warmth of his palm was burning hot. You haven't answered me. Are you truly willing to stay here? This is my decision. It has nothing to do with you. I struggled to pull my hand back. Go away quickly. This is the capital of Daliang. If you are discovered, both our lives will be in danger. It might even spark a war between the two nations. But Lu Ji smiled, his expression showing a hint of relief. Enua, you're worried about me. What did you call me? I was stunned. He hadn't called me by my nickname in a long time. Enua, he looked at me seriously, with only my reflection in his eyes. I never wanted to drive you away. I just hoped you would give up on me, and that we could go back to how we were before. But now I realize I cannot do it. I came this time to take you away. I laughed in anger. Why should I go with you? Do you want me to become a sinner of Great Joe? The prince of Jinbei's house is full of loyal martyrs. Aren't you afraid of dishonoring your ancestors' names by becoming a rebel who defies orders? Lu Ji's face turned pale for a moment, but he still didn't let go of my hand. I will resolve everything. After I send you back to Great Joe, I will stay at the border to settle the war. Or we can stay at the border together, away from the troubles of the capital. Enua, I love you. The matter is already settled. I will not go with you. I looked at him indifferently. Daliang will not start a war easily. If marriage can bring a lifetime of peace, then that is enough. You said you would always stay by my side. But you broke your word. How can I expect anything else? Lu Ji, stop being so unreasonable. He was stunned. This was the first time I used unreasonable to describe him. In the past, that was his evaluation of me. Jinshu's voice came from outside the door. Is the princess ready? It's time to head to the palace. I pushed him toward the window. Go now. If you don't leave now, it will be too late. Lu Ji took out a porcelain bottle from his robe and stuffed it into my hand. This is your life-saving medicine. I never stopped searching for herbs for you. These 3 pills will keep you safe. Regarding Su Xiaoxiao, I never actually gave your medicine to her. It was all an act for you to see. The love poems you left in your dowry, I have kept them safely. No one else has ever seen them. I looked at the familiar bottle in my hand, and my nose felt slightly sour. I urged, don't say any more, just go. Lu Ji pushed open the window, looked back at me deeply, and said, I was wrong. Enua, if there ever comes a day you want to return, I will definitely be there. With that, he leaped out the window, his figure quickly disappearing into the night. I collapsed into the chair, my back covered in cold sweat. Only after confirming he had left safely did I open the bottle. Inside were indeed 3 pills, and a small note. It said, Enua, I will take you away. I set the note on fire and watched it turn to ash. I hid the porcelain bottle in a secret place, straightened my clothes, and followed the envoy to the Daliang palace. Inside the banquet hall, I paid my respects to the emperor and empress of Daliang. I also met the person I was to marry, the 3rd prince, Xiaoyu. He was the war god of Daliang. He was the one leading the troops during the border frictions, but he looked elegant and gentle, completely lacking the ferocity of a general. Instead, he had a scholarly air about him. I have heard much of your fame, princess. Xiaoyu smiled and cupped his hands. My heart skipped a beat as I thought of my reputation in Great Zhou. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond, so I could only nod slightly. The marriage alliance had already been settled. All the procedures were ready. 3 days later was the auspicious day. I was carried into the 3rd prince's manor in a grand bridal sedan. Night fell. A soft sound came from outside the window, the sound of a small pebble hitting the windowsill. I knew it was Lu Ji. He had been wandering nearby since morning, trying to find a chance to see me. Tonight is my wedding night. Does uncle want to eavesdrop here? I approached the window and whispered. The movement outside stopped instantly. After saying those words, I was stunned myself. Such a hurtful tone was exactly the same as when Lu Ji rejected me. Late at night, Xiaoyu returned from the reception. He lifted my bridal veil, and a flash of amazement crossed his eyes. I lowered my head, pretending to be shy, but my heart was somewhat anxious. Unexpectedly, he didn't come closer. After washing up, he simply lay on the outer edge of the bed. Go to sleep. Tomorrow we go to court to give thanks. I lay stiffly, unable to fall asleep for a long time. Suddenly, a hand with a faint scent of ink covered my eyes. Xiaoyu's voice was gentle. Don't worry, we aren't familiar with each other. We can take it slow. His words carried a comforting power. My tense nerves gradually relaxed, and I slowly fell into a dream. Just over the wall, Lu Ji stood under a tree, watching the candle light in the room dim. It felt like a knife was twisting in his heart. He waited until late at night, until he was sure there was no more movement in the room. Then he retreated into the darkness, dejected. He knew clearly that from tonight on, Manhwa was the third princess of Daliang. He no longer had any reason to go near her, but the obsession in his heart wouldn't let go. The next morning, I went to the palace with Xiaoyu to give thanks. While getting ready, I saw him cut his arm and drip blood onto the white handkerchief. Why are you doing this? I asked, puzzled. Xiaoyu explained softly, there is much gossip in the palace. Doing this is to prevent anyone from using this to make things difficult for you. When we paid respects to the Empress Dowager in the palace, she indeed had a critical look on her face. As the prince's wife, it is your duty to expand the imperial family's lineage. My third son has no children yet. You should put more heart into it. Before I could speak, Xiaoyu stepped forward. Imperial grandmother may not know, but the imperial doctor said my health is weak and children will be difficult. It cannot be forced. The Empress Dowager's face darkened, and she waved us out. As we walked out of the palace, Xiaoyu held my hand and whispered, it's just an excuse. She won't trouble you again. My ears felt hot. I shook off his hand and got into the carriage. Not long after returning to the manor, Lu Ji appeared again. Does my imperial father know you are here? I asked first. I had clearly told my father to stop him at all costs. He doesn't know. I slipped out. Lu Ji looked at me, his eyes full of persistence. The tiger tally, I have already handed it over. He has no need to worry about rebellion. I don't care about the status of the Prince of Xinbei. I only want you to come back with me. You just married Su Xiaoxiao, and then you abandoned her. How is she supposed to face the world? I looked away. Imperial father values you very much. Go back now before you make a huge mistake and admit your fault. He won't punish you too harshly. Between her and me, it's just a transaction. Lu Ji explained hurriedly, we called off the engagement 10 years ago. The so-called 10-year agreement was a lie she made up. I only married her to make you give up on me. The day after you left, I wanted to chase after you. I never truly consummated the marriage with her. Uncle, you advised me to think twice before acting, yet your own marriage was this reckless. The corners of my mouth curled into a bitter smile. I am doing fine in Daliang. Xiaoyu treats me well, and hasn't made things hard for me. Upon hearing this, anger flared in Lu Ji's eyes. This was the first time I saw him lose his composure so much. You've only known each other for a few days. How do you know he is treating you sincerely? Perhaps it's just a front of kindness. Before the envoys leave. This is a marriage alliance between two nations. I don't need him to be sincere. Treating each other with mutual respect is enough. I said calmly. I should have seen through all this long ago. Lu Ji remained silent for a long time before speaking. War has broken out in the southern border. My imperial father has recalled me to the capital. If I could take you away, without triggering a war between our two nations, would you be willing to come with me? He took out a wooden box. This contains fake death medicine. After taking it, you will gradually grow weak. On the 7th day, you will stop breathing. Even the imperial doctors won't find a flaw. I will take you south. We will marry in the southern border and never return to the capital. I am not willing. I refused without hesitation. If I return to Great Zhou, it must be in an honorable and upright way. I will never abandon everything to spend my life hiding in the shadows. If my father and mother knew I had died, how heartbroken they would be. I stood up to leave. Father recalled you to give you a chance to redeem yourself. Little uncle, don't continue down the wrong path. Lu Ji watched my receding figure, his voice slightly raspy. If you change your mind, I will come for you, no matter where I am. My footsteps paused. I whispered, I don't need you. He left and returned to Great Zhou as fast as he could. When the emperor saw him, his tone was cold. So you finally know how to return. I thought you intended to defy my decree. Lu Ji knelt. Your servant admits his guilt. I accept whatever punishment your majesty decrees. The chaos in the southern border is not yet settled. I am sending you back to let you redeem yourself. If you cannot pacify it, all your offenses will be punished together, and you need not return. The emperor huffed. Lu Ji bowed his head. Your servant obeys. The emperor's tone softened slightly. He asked, how is Manhwa faring in Daliang? Did anyone bully her? No one. Lu Ji paused and answered truthfully, the third prince of Daliang treats her very well. He takes care of her in every possible way. During this past month, he had been observing from the shadows. Xiaoyu's kindness toward Manhwa was no act. That level of detail and sincerity was something he had never given her. The emperor sighed in relief. That's good then. Do you think this was Xiaoyu's first time meeting Nuo? Lu Ji was stunned. What do you mean, Your Majesty? When Nuo was 8 years old, De Liang sent envoys to pay their respects. Xiaoyu was among them. At that time, someone in the De Liang imperial family wanted to eliminate him and frame Great Zhou for it. They pushed him into the water. It was Nuo who saved him, nearly losing her own life in the process. That is why she was sent to Guanghua Temple to recover. The emperor remarked, that boy has likely been thinking of Nuo for many years. Now, it can be said he finally got his heart's desire. Lu Ji felt as if he'd been struck by lightning, so the bond between Xiaoyu and Nuo had been forged even before his own, and Nuo, because of that severe illness back then, had long forgotten this past. I tell you this in the hope you understand. Nuo has already moved on. Do not disturb her again. The emperor looked at him. Your petition for a divorce, I have not approved. It was an imperial decree for marriage. A monarch's word is final. If you divorce right after the wedding, what would become of the Su family's dignity? In the future, which family would be willing to marry their daughter to you? I will not marry another wife in this lifetime, Lu Ji said firmly. Nonsense. The emperor interrupted. The lineage of the prince of Jinbei's manor cannot end. Your parents' greatest wish was to hold a grandson. Now that Su Xiaoxiao is pregnant, you should settle your heart. Lu Ji's pupils constricted. Su Xiaoxiao is pregnant? Indeed. The imperial doctor diagnosed her a month after you left. Calculating the time, it matches perfectly. The emperor gave him a meaningful look. I never touched her, Lu Ji retorted instantly, his voice laced with urgency. The emperor was startled. His face then darkened. I give you 3 days to investigate this. 3 days later, regardless of the result, you must lead the troops to the southern border. Lu Ji returned to the manor. As soon as he entered, he saw the plum trees in the garden had been cut down to stumps. What is going on here? He asked in a low voice. The butler answered respectfully. The princess said the scent of the plum blossoms made her nauseous, so she ordered the servants to cut them down. My prince, the little heir is more important. You needn't get angry at the princess over a few trees. Lu Ji's gaze grew deep. You seem very concerned about the princess. The butler's face turned pale, stammering, No, I haven't. Do your job. Don't ask about what doesn't concern you, Lu Ji said coldly. When he found Su Xiaoxiao, she was in a pavilion admiring flowers. Seeing him, a smile touched her face. The prince has returned. Whose child is it? Lu Ji got straight to the point, his tone icy. I never touched you. Su Xiaoxiao raised an eyebrow, completely unafraid. Who can prove it? Only you and I know what happened that day. My clothes were disheveled when you drove me away. Outsiders will only think something happened between us. Didn't you say you were infertile and unable to conceive? Lu Ji stared at her. My prince, I already said I wasn't honest with you. That point was naturally a lie as well. Su Xiaoxiao smiled triumphantly. To think you studied Buddhism for 10 years, and yet you believed me so easily. But I also have the princess to thank. If she hadn't pestered you relentlessly, you wouldn't have been in such a rush to set our wedding date. You can refuse to acknowledge this child, but if I publicize where you wed this past month, and who you've been thinking about, do you think the princess can still live peacefully in De Liang? Su Xiaoxiao's eyes were full of resentment. Years ago, you said you would become a monk and called off our engagement. I had already embroidered the wedding talismans, yet I became the laughingstock of the capital. I waited 10 years for you. I finally became the princess of Jinbei with great difficulty, yet you wanted a divorce after just a month. I have had enough of the contempt of others. How could I not hate you? What I wanted was never some kind of compensation, but the position of the princess of Jinbei. She looked at Lu Ji. Either we live in peace together, or you divorce me, and I'll let the whole world know about you and Nuo. Let her taste the feeling of being pointed at by everyone. At the mention of Nuo, a flash of murderous intent crossed Lu Ji's eyes. Su Xiaoxiao didn't care. You want to kill me? I have already written hundreds of letters. If anything happens to me, these letters will appear in every street and alley. Lu Ji clenched his fists. He laughed out of extreme anger. I won't kill you. Men. The princess has been afflicted by a demonic illness, which may harm the unborn child. From this day on, she is to be sent to the west courtyard to nurture her pregnancy. Without my permission, she is not to step out of the west courtyard. You can't do this to me. Su Xiaoxiao's face changed drastically. Everyone knows I am carrying your child. Yes, so everyone will think you are resting to ensure a healthy birth. Lu Ji's voice was cold. You wanted to be the princess of Jinbei. I will give you that title. You and the child can live out your days in the west courtyard. Don't worry, I will let you give birth safely. But as for the title of the heir of Jinbei Manor, he shouldn't even dream of it. Su Xiaoxiao tried to struggle, but her mouth was covered by a guard and she was forcibly taken away. Lu Ji knew Su Xiaoxiao's threats no longer had any effect. Xiaoyu had been deeply in love with Nuo for many years. He must know about her past with Lu Ji, so he wouldn't make things difficult for Nuo over these rumors. 3 days later, Lu Ji led the troops to the southern border. The battlefield was a place of swords and danger. Every charge and attack was a dance on the edge of a blade. He wrote many letters, wanting to tell Nua about his situation, wanting to ask if she was well in Daliang. But every letter was ultimately burned by him. He was afraid his news would cause her trouble. And even more afraid of disturbing her peaceful life. Half a year later, he received word from a spy. Nua was pregnant. That night, Lu Ji drank a lot of wine alone. He knew this day would eventually come. Given how Xiaoyu sincerely cared for her, he would surely protect her well. But the jealousy and regret in his heart were like poison, gnawing at his heart. This happiness was originally supposed to be his. If only he had been braver back then. If only he had faced his feelings honestly without being bound by societal rules, would he have avoided losing her? 3 years later, the spy sent news again. Nua had successfully given birth to a daughter. Both mother and daughter were well. Lu Ji looked at the words on the letter, his fingertips gently tracing the portrait he carried. That was the only portrait of Nua he had completed in the past 3 years. The girl in the painting had curved eyes and a bright smile, just like her old self at Guanghua Temple. He remembered how she used to be so delicate and afraid of pain, yet now she had borne a child for Xiaoyu. It seemed she truly had fallen in love with Xiaoyu. The war in the southern border lasted for 3 years. In the early winter of the 3rd year, Lu Ji finally returned to the capital after a great victory. At the same time, he received another piece of intelligence. The emperor of Daliang was seriously ill. The crown prince was deposed, and the 3rd prince, Xiaoyu, had ascended the throne. He was now accompanying Nua to Great Zhou to visit relatives. Lu Ji's hand trembled violently. Calculating the time, he and Nua would likely meet in the capital at the same time. 3 years. It had been 3 years since he'd seen her. The portraits sent by the spy were no substitute for seeing her in person. In these 3 years, he knew everything about her. He knew she was troubled by her inability to discipline the child. He knew she had been hunted by the crown prince's men. Fortunately, the elite guards he left in Daliang acted in secret to protect her. He also knew that her relationship with Xiaoyu grew deeper every day, moving from mutual respect to mutual reliance. She was living very happily. Lu Ji understood he had completely missed his chance. From the moment Nua rejected his fake death medicine and chose to stay in Daliang, there was no going back for them. On the way back to the capital, he had imagined the scene of reuniting with Nua countless times. He thought about how to greet her and how to ask if she was doing well. But at the moment they actually met, all his preparations vanished into thin air. At the imperial banquet, he spotted Nua at a glance. She was more mature and gentle than she was 3 years ago. Her complexion was rosy, and her eyes carried a glow of happiness. Clearly, her life was very satisfying. Xiaoyu was by her side. He was dressed as a common guard. Yet his noble aura was hard to conceal. He was skillfully coaxing the little girl in his arms. His movements were gentle, his gaze doting. Even in the gaps of amusing the child, he would habitually straighten the strands of hair Nua's face that were ruffled by the wind. Lu Ji withdrew his gaze, picked up his cup, and downed a gulp of wine. So, she really had found someone who could protect her for a lifetime. He stood up, wanting to find a quiet place. Just as he reached the garden, a soft little thing crashed into him. Oops. The little girl stumbled and looked up, revealing a face that was strikingly similar to Nua's. Lu Ji's gaze softened instantly, as if he were seeing the young Nua. What is your name? Why did you come out here alone? Where is your mother? He asked softly. The little girl replied in a childish voice. My name is Yuan Yuan. I snuck out. Uncle, please don't tell my mother. Aren't you afraid your mother will be angry? Lu Ji smiled. My mother won't get angry. She is the gentlest person. Yuan Yuan tilted her little face up, looking very proud. Lu Ji felt a stir in his heart. Nua used to be so delicate and haughty, yet now she had become the gentlest person in her child's eyes. Time had changed her, and it had changed everything between them. Yuan Yuan, come here. Xiaoyu's voice drifted over. He had already removed his disguise, revealing his original appearance. He wasn't surprised to see Lu Ji, but simply called out to his daughter warmly. Yuan Yuan happily pounced into Xiaoyu's arms. Xiaoyu held her as he walked over to Lu Ji. You are quite bold, daring to accompany her back to Great Zhou alone despite being an emperor. Lu Ji's voice carried a hint of testing. Others cannot harm me. And you will not harm me. Xiaoyu smiled. Our goal is the same. We both want her to be happy. Lu Ji was silent for a moment, then spoke slowly. If you ever treat her poorly, I will not let you off. I won't give you that chance. Xiaoyu's tone was firm. Lu Ji said no more, turning to Nua. Congratulations on having such a sweet and lovely daughter. His tone was calm, as if he were simply greeting an old friend. I have already had the gifts delivered to your palace. Those gifts were things he had collected piece by piece while traveling throughout the southern border. Over the past 3 years, based on her past preferences, he had no reason to give them to her directly, so he gave them in Yuan Yuan's name, considering it a way to fulfill one of his own wishes. Nua smiled slightly. Thank you, little uncle. Those 4 simple words carried just the right amount of distance. The two stood in silence for a while. From the distance, Yuan Yuan's call came. Nua responded, then looked at Lu Ji. I must go. All right. Lu Ji nodded. Take care. You too. Nuo turned and walked toward the hall. Luji walked toward the gate. One step apart, they were now in two different worlds. Luji returned to the manor. The newly appointed butler hurried to greet him. As for the previous butler, who had colluded with Su Xiaoxiao to embezzle the manor's property, he had long ago been dealt with. He walked alone to the west courtyard. The yard was overgrown with weeds, a scene of desolation. Su Xiaoxiao stood alone in the yard, looking haggard, her former self long gone. You can stop pretending. I know you aren't crazy. Luji got straight to the point. A year ago, news had come from the manor that Su Xiaoxiao had gone mad. He already understood the truth in his heart, but he had simply ignored it. Su Xiaoxiao turned to look at him, her eyes devoid of light. You've come. Luji took out a divorce agreement. Sign this, and you can leave with compensation. Where you go or what you do after this will have nothing to do with me. If you don't sign, then you will spend the rest of your life here playing the role of a mute. Nuo and Xiaoyu are very happy. Even if you go out and spout nonsense, no one will believe you. Su Xiaoxiao was silent for a long time, then she slowly reached out and signed her name. Her voice was raspy. Lu Ji, you took such care of Nuo. Why are you so heartless to me? The greater part of my life was spent on you. I never asked you to waste your time on me. And I have given you sufficient compensation. It was your own greed and your insistence on being the princess of Jinbei. You can blame no one but yourself. Lu Ji's tone was indifferent. Su Xiaoxiao suddenly laughed, laughing wildly. Yes, I was greedy, but you won't have a good end either. You are destined to die alone. She suddenly pulled a dagger from her robe and lunged at Lu Ji. But she had been confined to the west courtyard for years, and her body was weak. Lu Ji easily dodged her. Before I change my mind, get out. As the guards took her away, she continued to laugh madly. You will get your retribution. You'll die alone. After Su Xiaoxiao left, Lu Ji wandered through the manor alone. He had the plum trees replanted, but looking at the bare branches, his heart was empty. Su Xiaoxiao was right. He had already received his retribution from the moment he left the monkhood and chose to use a transaction to push Nuo away. He was destined to lose his love forever. Early the next morning, Lu Ji returned the tiger tally once again and submitted his resignation. He rode his horse alone to Guanghua Temple. The abbot was already waiting at the temple gate. Seeing him, he said calmly, I knew you would return. Lu Ji bowed. His tone was sincere. Please, abbot, shave my head. You have decided? He changed into his monk's robes. The string of prayer beads with only one bead left hung around his neck. He knelt on the prayer mat. As the sound of the abbot's chanting began, his black hair fell away, scattering on the ground. Lu Ji slowly closed his eyes. From then on, there was no more Prince of Jinbei, Lu Ji. There was only the monk, Wang Chen. The bells of Guanghua Temple rang melodiously, echoing through the sky. The wind and snow seemed to draw a curtain over the past 10 years. That once gentle and jade-like Buddhist disciple, that Prince of Jinbei who fought on the battlefield, had ultimately returned to this temple. He would spend the rest of his life with the oil lamp and ancient Buddha. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in the Daliang Imperial Palace, Nuo leaned into Xiaoyu's embrace, watching their daughter play outside the window, a gentle smile on her face. The pain of the past had long since faded with the wind. She had finally found her own happiness. Between the mountains and rivers, they were each doing well. Perhaps this was the best ending for them.